Whenever there is a tension in an organization, that's a sign that we are not doing something aligned with the purpose of the organization. Which means that actually just by fixing the problem where the tension occurred, we are still keeping the organization on the same level.
This is Big Four and More, and I'm your host, Drew Leifheit, bringing you interviews and perspectives on issues that touch the global consultancy sector. Today's question: do clients pay you to tell them the solutions or to help you figure out the solutions? To help us out, let's give a warm welcome back to Elvira Kalmár, who's a certified organization design professional. Elvira specializes in crafting tailor-made processes to help clients achieve their next evolutionary step by aligning structure, processes, and human systems. She's an accomplished author, speaker, and design practitioner with over 2 decades of experience. This is our second episode with Elvira, who will give us 3 questions to ask yourself about how you should serve your clients. Just give them the answers or help guide them towards the solutions. Nice to see you again, Elvira. How was your summer?
Hey, Drew, thank you very much for having me back. I had actually a super busy summer. Is it okay to show kind of a surprise to you also? In the last I was telling you that I had a book. I written a book and I published a book. And guess what? In the last month, so I don't know if you can see it, the second one has come out. So another
Congratulations.
bam. So you see, you can bombard me with your questions now because I'm prepared for every possible answer, yeah, or every possible question that's coming from you.
So I'm speaking to 2 books now.
2 books worth of stuff.
Congratulations. That's wonderful. Yes, of course. Yeah, we're talking about how we should help clients, right, in this episode, and it really reminded me of the old proverb: "Give a man a fish, and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime." Of course, it's maybe a little bit sexist, that old proverb, but what are your thoughts about just handing over the solutions or guiding clients towards solutions? What's your overall experience?
A company calls for help, a system calls for help. Of course, it's doing that because it's sensing some problems, some conflicts, some tension, something is not going right. And we've inherited from the Industrial Revolution time this wonderful machine way of thinking about everything, also about organizations. And using this metaphor, even not knowingly but unawarely, we look at large systems like machines and then we say, if the machine is broken, then we have to stop the machine or we have to come and have a look. We have to diagnose what the problem might be. And once we find the problem, then we will fix the machine. So we give you either the new particle or we give you a new way how to go around your problem. And then the machine will go on smoothly forever. That's kind of the promise that we are offering when we are coming in with the, don't worry, we know how to solve problems, so we will solve your problem. The situation is a little bit more complex with organizations because, of course, we can look at them in many different ways and they are definitely not machines. Yeah, that's a metaphor. But if we look at it even today, organizations are still mainly consisting of people who contract with each other for a shared goal to achieve a shared purpose. So the smallest particle of the organization is the individual who is contributing to fulfilling that purpose. That individual is a living person, like you, like me. Our systems that we create, teams, project teams, work groups, whatever we call them, are still living systems, not machines. They have their dynamics, we start somewhere, we grow together, we do things together, we adjust, we sense what's happening in our environment. So where I'm going with this is that living particles can create only living systems, not machines. So if we look at organizations as living systems, and one of my favorite models is, it's also in both of my books, Isaac Adizesh's life cycle model. He draws this wonderful parallel between the stages of the human life and the stages of organizations that they go throughout their lifespan. And it's just wonderfully reminding us that we are not staying the same, however much we would like. We don't stay young. We don't stay in our prime. We go through phases in our life, and so do organizations. And each phase is super important because it has its own challenges. And by overcoming those challenges, we become ready for the next stage. I mean, I have two recently grown up kids, so I have not forgotten completely teenagehood. Yeah, it's a tough part of our life, tough for the youngsters, the adolescents, and also tough for the parents. Yeah, but you learn a lot of things in that phase. You actually learn how to separate from your parents. You learn to fight for what's important for you. You become independent in that process. And the same is true for organizations. So even, for example, going back to Adizesh's life cycle model, he pulls this parallel that this phase, the adolescence, is actually when companies are separating from the founder. So they go through the same conflict-filled process. It might take years or even decades until finally the founder can step back, doesn't want to make all the decisions, and the organization works out its own way of dealing with issues and its own way of addressing situations, its own way of, for example, overcoming problems. And the point I'm trying to make here is that, going back to the initial example, if the owner stays around and ties the shoelace all the time in the organization, then how does the organization going to learn to overcome the current issues, situations, so that it makes it ready for the next phase? And this is something was, I think, very important to remember, that when we come in and we say, hey, we know it better, we've seen it somewhere else, we can tell you how to do it.
Mm.
We are tying the shoelace and we are robbing the organization from the opportunity to learn how to fix it so that it becomes able to fix its shoelace every day. So shoelace fixing is never a problem again.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And of course, there are many different ways how we can support organizations. Yeah, maybe we talk about that.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to challenge your assumption, um, just in a nuanced way. So I'm wondering, though, when you hire a consultant, isn't there a lot of value in the fact that it's an outside party who is able to see things that maybe you within the organization are not aware of?
Yes, and I think that's the important thing where I'm going with this is that it's not that it's bad, 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 and we shouldn't hire consultants. But when us consultants are invited into a situation, I think it's super important to assess also what helps most. And even being an outsider doesn't mean that we have to give the answers or the solutions. Being an outsider actually gives you the ability to see the system without all its, how to say, all the nitty-gritty things that you don't need to see to understand what's going on. Yeah. As an outsider, we always say, yeah, an outsider eye always sees it a lot easier. What is the situation than us who are inside the organization, tangled into the everyday things and the uncountable number of interactions we had around the same issue. Yeah, so what I'm trying to say here is that just because you're called in as a consultant does not mean that you have to give the answer. It can also mean that you have the ability to challenge For example, who should be involved in finding the answer? And that can be on a kind of whole scale from you as a consultant will tell them what to do, you assess the situation, you work with the management team and you figure out what might be the possibilities. And you who have seen different situations, you ask questions by facilitating them what they probably wouldn't ask from themselves. Yeah. Or you can say, hey, this issue, maybe there are people in your organization who face this issue regularly. Why don't we get them into the room as well? And we discuss this and what do they see? And actually, quite often, the people who are facing the issues, problems that call us into the organization, most of the time, if you ask them what would they do differently, they actually can give you an answer and fairly good answers, even when they are not external consultancy. You don't necessarily need the external eye to see what might be the possible solution. And going that all the way to there are ways how we can involve even a whole system, so invite a lot of people. And today with our digital tools, you can even do this online. So there are wonderful, not just that you have in the room 500 people from a large organization and they design the solution for the issues, but I want to come back to that as well. But you can do this online. There are super cool ways how you can involve the intelligence of the organization to find its own solution. And yeah, where I want to come back is it really that we have to find the solution for the problem, or coming back to the Adidas life cycle model, or is it actually our job to support the organization or the people in the organization to elevate the system into its next level? Because you see, the problems are, I like this very much. I heard it or learned it from holacracy. Whenever there is a tension in an organization, that's a sign that we are not doing something aligned with the purpose of the organization. Which means that actually just by fixing the problem where the tension occurred, we're still keeping the organization on the same level. And by inviting the organization and not focusing on the problem, and here I'm coming with my solution-focused background and approach, but imagining the next stage in its evolution by thinking about how would our clients and customers notice that we evolved into our next level so that we become better. How would our colleagues notice that we have become better? And how would we, whomever we are talking about this, notice that we really elevated our system to its next level? The really interesting thing is coming from this point of view is that you're not only fixing the current problems, but you all imagine, in a way, you contract together for this next elevated stage. So it's like when you would ask a teenager, how would it look like when you are an adult? Yeah, that person can tell you, how would we, the parents, how would the school notice, how would he notice or she notice? It's pretty much the same on an organizational level. And this is a completely different game. So we're not fixing the hole in the shoe, but we're talking about how this whole system can evolve where there is no tension anymore, but it's not just the tension place that we fix, but everything. And with that, I have to come a little bit to the contracting also. So when we are called in as a consultant, an external consultant, what do we contract for? And this is where the game already flips to one direction or the other. If we contract for the problem and that we will fix your problem with a process, we do something, either it tell you or we do a good diagnosis, what's the root cause of your problem, and then we will tell you how to fix it. then we're focusing solely on this problem thing and the problem area. And we're kind of promising, so the problem is fixed, or we're going to identify it even better, and we're kind of promising that there will be some sort of solution. We don't know yet what kind, yeah? When we contract with the members of the organizations for this preferred future, so how would they notice that their system evolved into its next level? We are not just as the external consultant contracting for helping them get there or supporting them to get there, but we're already helping them to agree with each other. Where are we going? So when we are contracting for the problem, we're actually saying we're going to take you away from this problem, but there can be 100,000 different ways where we are running, which direction we're running away from the problem. When you're contracting for this preferred future, then you set a place in the future or a stage or a state how the organization would like to operate. And then we all know that we are making the steps. Every step that we are making is towards that state, towards that way of functioning, towards that impact to have on our client's life. So it's coming from a completely different direction, and it's actually operating with a completely different mindset. And in that mindset, the trust part is going to be a super crucial element. I think this is something that we consultants should also ask from ourselves and be aware of it. How much do I believe that the people in this organization can fix their problems and elevate their system to its next level? And when I'm coming in as a consultant, but not just a consultant, also as a trainer, thinking that I know and they have absolutely no idea, that's why they called me in, then I'm going to act from this mindset. And then I'm very likely going to tell them what to do or assume the right to teach them how to do. And with both of these actions, I'm still discounting their ability even further that they can fix their own issues. Then I'm coming in, and let's look at it from the other end of the scale. When I'm coming in, fully believing that the people who are working in this organization are able to fix their issues and they are able to elevate their system to the next level, they just might not have taken the time to stop doing what they are doing. They might not have asked the right questions from themselves. They might not have the right people in the room who should be involved to have this discussion. Then we are more likely ending up in a more facilitated process rather than a I give you the solution process, where our role in a way is to create space for this conversation, to challenge who should be there, to go through the thinking process together and find the solutions and define this future and how they can achieve the future they want to achieve together. And with that, how we are doing that, we can actually teach them how they can do it next time, whatever their problem is going to be. Because you might not need a different type of solution when a process is broken, or when they feel that trust is lost, or when they feel the culture is not good enough. These are all just areas where the tension can surface that we're not acting in harmony with our purpose and values while this company exists. And once you start doing things this way, the wonderful outcome or side effect is, one, the outcome is, as you know very clearly where the system wants to go, it kind of takes the system halfway there. Yeah. Secondly, you see the success, that the success is not your success as a consultant. Of course it is yours, but the success is the peoples who are working in the organization. They figured out the solution. They figured out how to do it. They agreed with each other on how they are going to do it differently. And what this means is that their confidence in themselves, that they can do this again and again, is growing. So we are giving the fish net to them so they can fish any day, anytime, with any issues, any trouble. They learn a way how to address these issues. Yeah, I wanted to say something else, but I forgot it. So you asked something. You asked something, Drew, and I'll come back to
Uh,
it.
I'm curious, are there instances where you meet the leader of an organization and they just say, I need a solution, as fast as possible. We don't have time to go through this, therapy session. Um, what can you deliver to me as soon as possible? Have you encountered that, and how do you deal with it?
Yes, and this is exactly what I forgot. So very good question. Thank you very much, because this is where I can relate back. Yeah, you see, yeah, there are a lot of situations when the head of the organization says, we really need to fix this very quick and I need someone to tell me what to do. When this happens, that already means that that person is not trusting his own or their own system. Yeah. And reaching out to someone to tell us what to do seems a fast solution. And that takes us to the question, when are we ready? So when a new solution comes, it comes on in a form of maybe wonderfully crafted slides, and the organization receives them. And sorry, I'm a bit sarcastic, but let me be. I worked a lot after these slides were delivered, and the management team of the organization sits there and it's like, wow, this really is a super clever solution. But we are still there. They still don't trust their own people. So how on earth are we going to make our, sorry, again, sarcastic, stupid people make this wonderful, shiny thing happen? So
Mm.
from the beginning, they already don't believe that their people or their company, their system is able to adapt this new, fantastic, super clever solution. Then they were not part of the thinking process, how the solution was created. So they themselves quite often just say, okay, it sounds good. Maybe they understand it fully, maybe not. Yeah. And then here comes the wonderful challenge of how do we sell this new idea to the rest of the organization? And this is where the wonderful art of change management has grown into lots of people thinking that is organization development.
Mhm.
Somebody designs a new way of doing something, a new operating model, a new structure, or new processes, or whatever we can say. Yeah? And then we have to tell the people that this is better. We paid a lot of money for it. And this is really the solution. We don't fully understand, but I'm sure you will all make sense of it. And then we try to, okay, I say with the sell word, yeah? We try to sell it to the organization. It usually takes from a year to a year and a half until these new operating models, new structures, new way of working come into life, never fully how it was originally imagined. Of course, because there are things in the organization where things look good on the slides, but you cannot actually make them happen really on the field. And my question here is, was this really a quick solution? And this is where I think most of us, external consultants, can get it wrong, and also our clients thinking that by getting here someone who will tell us what to do will be a quick solution. Because on contrary, when you have the people in the room who are working, let's say, with that process that you want to fix, for example, your production creates a lot of malproduction. And you can invite the external consultants to tell you how to streamline your process, or you can actually involve the people who are on the floor doing it, and you can work with them on how would this look like when it would work. And the people are not stupid and they are doing it every day. But most of the time, they don't have time to stop and talk about how to do it differently. Or maybe some of them are even doing that, but nobody listens to them because they are too busy doing whatever they are doing, creating a mess sometimes. And when they stop and they do this together and they figure out how this process should be, then one, everybody understands who actually has to do the work. Two, they can start make changes in order to get closer to this. So I'm not saying it's going to happen from one day to another, but it surely is not going to take 1.5 years until they work how they agreed with each other already. So in fact, relying on your own people who are doing the work, who are meeting your clients and customers, is actually a lot faster solution. Because at the end of the day, the change will happen a lot faster. It will be implemented a lot faster.
Right. It really sounds as if involving all the stakeholders is crucial to making something different.
Absolutely, because if you think about it, Drew, I mean, how work and how life is changing around us. Designing, for example, a full company change nowadays, kind of creating a new operating model and trying to push the system into this target operating model. It might take, 1.5 to 3 years. In the meantime, there are so many other things happening that you probably have to readjust or should be readjusting. And this is what a lot of large companies are doing actually nowadays, focusing on their own transformation, trying to make it happen. Somebody created a wonderful operating model for them, and they're trying to make it happen in the organization, while the world is changing so fast around them that we should be doing or making these changes almost every day.
Mm.
And by involving your people in the organization, you might not be able to create that large of a transformation. And this is what often people say that, but the people can only imagine how much change. Yes, but whatever they can imagine, they can make it happen. And once they made it happen, here comes again the confidence. Then their confidence grows. So when you again ask them, how would it work when it's working even better? Their imagination is braver already because they have more confidence. So they can make the next step even a bigger step than the previous one. So what I'm talking about it is that smaller steps, smaller changes actually grow the confidence of the organization so they can start making bigger and bigger changes as frequently as needed, rather than designing a massive shift, which they're probably not going to be able to make ever. And in the next 2 years, they're going to focus on how to implement this change. Okay, it sounds very theoretical, but let me just say some examples, yeah?
That's exactly
Without, of course, without company names, but currently I'm working with an organization. I was called in for the change management part to support teams when a company is trying to shift, it's a software developer company, trying to shift from a traditional silo way of operating into product-based teams. Really, the idea is fantastic. How they are doing it, that it's been announced, and now you have to march into this way of working and you have to make sense of it. We're already a year into the process, and I would say maybe a quarter of the organization gets it by now. What is it that they should be doing differently? 3/4 of it are still doing how they used to do it, thinking maybe next year another transformation is coming, and then we have to kind of do it again in a third different way. So maybe we wait out this one. Yeah. And the point I'm trying to make here is that you can read these articles also. I mean, McKinsey regularly publishes it about the the unsuccess rate of the transformations that are happening and that are designed. And even there, somehow the suggested criticism is that we've designed wonderful new ways for organizations how they could operate, but they don't been up to implement it. Yeah. And in a way, it's true. They do design wonderful new ways of operating, but it has nothing to do or not much to do with the organization, the people in it, and they can't make sense of it. So it's not going to happen. And this is why I'm kind of making sure that whenever, even if my clients ask for the solution because they think that's the fastest, if I do tell them that it's definitely not faster. And I can create situations where their own people will come up with the solutions. Maybe it will be not as a giant leap or not as, let's say, magnificent if it would look on the slide, but it will be theirs. They will be able to make it. And then once they made it, they will also know how they made these steps so they can make the next steps by themselves.
Mm, mm. In the example that you've given, could you talk a little bit about what the potential benefits are of, you said that they were trying to embrace was it a product-based
Product-based.
way of working?
Yeah, and it's this I'm saying, there is a wonderful potential in it. I'm writing in my book also a lot about the parallel realities of organizations. That's also our inheritance from the Industrial Revolution time and the mechanistic view that we think organizations equal with their formal structure, aka their hierarchy. So if we want to change something, we have to change the hierarchy, we have to change the structure. So we have to restructure, reorganize. I'm sure almost every company this autumn is going to a restructuring or reorganization. And we forget that there are other parallel realities. So in every organization, we know that there is the informal structure, which is our network, the network of people as a living system. Yeah, the particles interact with each other, not just in the hierarchy. We talk with each other, we share information, we influence the system via this informal structure. And in every system, in every organization, there is also value creating reality. And that's actually where the work happens, where people who might sit in different parts of the formal structure hierarchy boxes, they actually knowingly or unknowingly, that's the funny part, but work together on the same topic, same issue, same process, same product, for example. And these people should be treated like a team. Yeah? And this is one of the things that that I've been doing in the last years, is that whenever an organization, I feel that they call in, that they need to change, they need to do something differently, I try to make them avoid doing another restructuring. It's too painful. It takes too much time. People still get their identity from the formal structure, from their position, the job that they do. We shouldn't change that too often. But the value creating reality of every organization is constantly changing. We are only working on topics together which are current, which are relevant. Once the topic is not important anymore, nobody calls meetings about that topic. Yeah. And especially, for example, in this organization I'm working for, they are developing softwares. These are products that their clients are using. So this is the first time they really are starting to treat the people who are working on the same product as one team. They, in the formal structure, belong to different units. There are UX designers, there are engineers, there are product managers who all have their own box and their own leaders. But they're starting to reinforce this value-creating reality where the people who are developing software around that one product should be treated like one unit, one team, one part of the organization. And that's why there is a lot of potential in that, because that would enhance actually these people working together better, having more intense communication, having shared goals, rather than receiving goals in the formal structure in 3 different silos from 3 different areas. So focusing on the value creating reality is actually the way to keep organizations more flexible. And we can still leave people in the formal structure as their home base. Yeah, that's where I belong to, that's my identity. But most of our actions should focus on this value creating reality if we want to keep our company adaptive, agile, ready to adapt to the changes that are happening in our environment. I'm also working with another company where we are starting to support the people who are going to work on projects where they are going to start using AI inside the organization. And that's also not happening in the formal structure, but these people are running projects, topics, when they are starting to experiment with the usage of AI in the value creating reality. They pull people together who are connected to that topic where they are trying to use AI. So this teaching them by treating them as a group themselves. We are showing them, instead of teaching them, how to facilitate a group of people who you get together fast, so that they can fast get to the point where they act like a team, they can perform together, they can grow hopefully as well, so learn something. And once they figured out the solution, then it can go back into the organization, into the everyday life, and they don't need this group anymore. These people will be working on other topics, other themes. So focusing on the value creating reality is key nowadays.
Sounds like there could be potential increases in innovation, for example.
Innovation happens in the value creating reality also. Yeah. The funny part is where I was kind of also hinting a little bit at whether people work together or they supposed to work together, and that's often a little addition from us, the externals, that for us it's easier to see. For example, that but these people working along this process, they sitting in production, quality control, the maintenance people who are, for example, maintaining the production line. And they act like 3 different teams, and they are even in a competition with each other and pointing fingers, especially when things don't go right. And just by getting them into a room and, again, not teaching them, treating them like one team and working together with them on, hey, if you all guys as one team could make this process run smoother, how would that look like? And what would be the steps and who would be doing what? People are able to do this and they start acting like one team. And you just have to make sure that it's not one workshop or one event, but you build into the system the continuous fine-tuning opportunities, so they agree in something, how often they stop to have a look at what they are doing, so they're not just kind of pushing the wheelbarrow with the square wheel, yeah, but they fine-tune regularly. They can develop their processes to the level of perfection, which as consultants, maybe I could have drawn it for them, yeah, but would they have used it? Would they have implemented it? Maybe, maybe not. 50-50. If they have done it, are they going to use it, but they've already seen that we could be doing it better and they know exactly, they understand exactly what they should do differently to make it work? Yeah, I mean, they know it. So once they know it, they cannot not know it anymore. So that's the magic of working in a solution-focused way in organizations.
Mhm. Yeah, it almost sounds like you're kind of throwing down a challenge in a way. Also, prove yourself, show your expertise, bring it.
Yes, and it all goes back to, again, as I said, to the mindset. So what do we think the people in the organization are able of. And I go back to McGregor's theory, X and theory Y in the book also. Good old theory, but it still describes so wonderfully the two extremes that what we think about others' people attitude to work. And theory X is the CEO who doesn't trust their people and invites the external to tell us what to do. And then with a bit tries to kind of push through the solution through the organization. And theory-wise, when we assume that we are all adults at a workplace, we all like to contribute, to do meaningful things. We are all innovative in our own way, and in our own work, definitely we can come up with better solutions. And then if we believe that, so it's us, it's not the clients, it has nothing to do about them, it's us what we believe. If we believe that, then we can invite them into situations where they can actually act, act up what we believe in them. So by creating that space for them with our trust, they learn to trust in themselves also.
Now, Elvira, we of course are called Big Four and more here, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this topic in relation to global consulting companies. Should you should global consulting companies give their clients a fish, or should they teach the man how to fish?
I think at the moment, the majority of the projects are fish giving, and I'd like to invite the people who are working in these organizations to start experimenting with a little bit more net, maybe sunfish. So, and so try to move towards the why. What I often do is actually, I know I'm a radical why thinker, yeah? So I fully believe in people's capability to fix their own systems and elevate them. And because I believe that it's happening with my clients all the time. So I'd like to invite also my Big Four and more colleagues also to just step one step towards the why. And what I often tell to myself is that, okay, what would I do or what would I ask if I would trust these people even more that they can fix their own system and they can elevate it in its evolution to its next level? And maybe that's the question. So you don't have to start also, we're not telling the Big Four consultancy companies to flip from one and transform into the other. Yeah. But just like we're working with our clients, also the invitation is just do one step towards the right and ask yourself, what would I say? What would I ask? What would I do if I would trust these people one more than I do, or a little bit more than I do right now? And then you see the impact of it. So then maybe you can make the next step with your next client or next process.
Excellent, excellent. And finally, I'm wondering if you have three questions in mind, three questions that a business leader should ask themselves in figuring out which approach they should embrace.
Oh, I have more than three, but okay. Yeah.
Uh, I'll let you give more than three. Go for it.
One is really the time. We talked about this. So how fast do I need the solution, but the solution implemented, and ask that. So do I just need suggestions from someone? What are the possible directions I go, and then go for the I tell you what? Or is it more important that we start acting differently in the organization, that do it more with your people? Cost. I'm not going to say much about that. Calculate some cost of the people, what they are spending on this process, on this project. So the days they spend, for example, on a workshop, you can calculate a daily fee, what you pay them otherwise. Minuscule compared to the consultancy where they tell you the solution. engagement, engagement and energy in the organization. I'll try to bind that together. Can you afford your people to lean back and wait out while the consultants go around, understand the situation, do their diagnosis, and come up with the solution, and then tell who should do what? It's absolutely proven performance goes down in every organization once the expensive suits arrive. Or would you like to engage the people and create more energy while you are trying to redefine yourself by inviting the people who are doing this work and see how excited and energized they get from it? I mean, that's one of the things why I love my work. You know, you often walk into a situation and people are super frustrated and full of conflicts. And the frustration and the conflicts are always coming from them seeing that we could be doing it better and differently, and we're still doing things in a way that's frustrating the hell out of us. And then creating the opportunity that they actually can make suggestions, they can have an impact on their own work, they can fix their own processes or their behavioral codex or their culture so that we don't just get stuck on the processes. Any of that, anything. It is so energizing, and it's like, yeah, like opening up the gates in front of some wild horses in your organization, and people run out and they come with their ideas, and it's just happening. So the energy level, I would say, is, yeah, probably the third thing. So can you afford to lean back and have that deep in the performance and energy? Your best people starting to search for jobs because they might not stay? Or would you like to energize the people in your organization and build that confidence that they can conquer the world if they can conquer their own problems? Yeah.
Great. We've been speaking to Elvira Kalmár. She's a certified organization design professional. Lovely to have you back, and see you next time, Elvira. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Drew.